Welcome everybody to tonight's Committee of the Whole for the December 17, 2019 Auburn City Council meeting. The council has the minutes from the December 3rd Committee of the Whole meeting. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes? If not, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second. I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the minutes carry. Green Space Advisory Board, Mayor Pro Tem Whitten.
Yes, sir. We have one vacancy and an unexpired term beginning immediately and ends August 7th, 2021. And I nominate Arthur Chapelka.
Second.
Okay. We have a nomination and a second for Art Chapelka. Are there any other nominations? Okay, seeing none. All in favor of Mr. Chapelka, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And we'll make that nomination formal during the meeting. Student housing moratorium discussion, Mr. Buston.
So on the dais in front of you this evening, you have several documents. On the top of that pile is Student Housing Moratorium Ordinance Timeline. This was what I gave you on Friday. Also under that is a sample ordinance, also something that you received on Friday. Then there are two memos from our city attorney. Those are both marked attorney-client privilege, so please, those need to be kept to yourselves and not shared. Basically, they are, one memo identifies all of the laws that require the timeline as we've set out in front of you, and the other one is a memo about moratoriums in general and what is required to implement one. So going back to the timeline, ordinance timeline, we started here December 17th with the Committee of the Whole discussion. It will then go to Planning Commission for the January 9th, 2020 Planning Commission meeting. In order for it to be addressed at Planning Commission, it has to be advertised on December 19th. So that's, you see the December 19th meeting or advertisement date there. Then in January 9th, Planning Commission meeting. There, after the meeting, there has to be a legal ad that would precede the February 18th, 2020 council meeting, and that legal ad would go out on January 23rd. There would be a third legal ad on January 30th, and then it would come to you on February 18th for your consideration. After your consideration, assuming that it is adopted on the first reading and is not denied unanimous consent, then we'd have to do a final publication on February 27th, and that will serve as the effective date of the ordinance.
Okay. Jim, what kind of official, is there anything official the council needs to direct you and the staff to do from this information here tonight?
It is our understanding that you would want this to go to Planning Commission. That is what we are planning. So it would be, following our rules, probably be a good idea to have a vote to say to send this to Planning Commission.
Thank you.
And when I say this, I mean the sample ordinance that is in front of you.
Okay. All right, are there any questions from the council for the city manager? Seeing none, is the council on board with asking the staff to send this forward to the Planning Commission, the ordinance as is drafted that we have had since Friday? Is the council okay with that? Are there any questions and thoughts on that?
Once it's at the Planning Commission, they have the opportunity to amend this ordinance?
They would, if they felt that there was something that they wanted to add or subtract from it, they could.
What if the Planning Commission did not approve this, if it was
It would
recommended for
still, it would
denial.
recommend for denial, it would still come back to you. It's just that any zoning issue needs to start with the planning commission.
Since there's a couple of different avenues in here, one not being zoning, it's a building code, is the opportunity for a moratorium, could it stand alone on that one issue? And we allow the moratorium to move forward, not as a zoning request, but as a building code amendment for health and safety and welfare?
The fact that you would be asking for a moratorium is a zoning issue. And so any moratorium would need to go through the planning commission. Now, in the meantime, and this is not just because of the Danter report saying that we have exceeded our absorption limit, we have been looking at some regulations that we will be probably bringing to you, assuming that a moratorium goes, or some 90-day pausing in student housing development. We will be bringing things to you that you could probably address before that end of those 90 days on things like construction, a new building code, maybe some other things that we've been thinking about, some type of a program to incentivize redevelopment of older housing product to something different, those type of things that don't have to wait till the end of the 90 days.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor. So what the planning commission will consider is straight and simple 90-day moratorium, yes, no.
Planning Commission will consider the ordinance that we put in front of you.
Okay, all right,
Yes.
but not necessarily the techniques, what happens after the 90 days. That's what you're talking about, right, Bill? Okay,
No.
all right, yeah, all right, I'm clear, thank you.
Thanks for clearing that up, Kelly. All right, any other questions from the council? Okay, should we do a hand vote? Jim, is that what you
It
recommend?
could be a
or
voice
just-
vote, it's just, yeah.
Okay, excuse me?
It could be a voice vote, however you want to do it, just,
Okay, so all in favor with moving this forward, asking the staff to move this forward to the planning commission, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Jim, so that motion is carried. All right, any questions on the agenda for the city manager?
I recuse from that vote.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One abstention. All right, any questions on the agenda for the city manager? City manager, any directives for us tonight?
we have no corrections to make.
Okay, all right, we're good. All right, seeing none, do I have a move to adjourn the committee of the whole?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion second, the committee of the whole is adjourned. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll start our meeting at 7 o'clock, okay? December 17th, 2019, the final meeting of this decade. Roll call. Caitlin?
Dawson,
Here.
Dixon,
Here.
Griswold,
Here.
Hovey,
Here.
Parsons,
Here.
Smith,
Present.
Taylor,
Here.
Witten,
Here.
Anders.
Here. Would you please rise for the saying of the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated.
So proud my top's gonna go off.
Okay, we have a special presentation tonight and excited about seeing some of our friends here from Kiwanis. But at this time, I'd like to ask Mr. Jack Galasini to please come forward. He is the president of Concerned Citizens for Police Support. Jack?
Thank you, Mayor. We are a nonprofit organization. The purpose of the organization is to give support to law enforcement in their day-to-day work that they do to keep us all safe. We do it three primary ways. One is interaction between the citizens and police. In that case, we encourage citizens, when you encounter a police officer, get to know them as a person, talk to them. They're a real person. Or give them even a thumbs up to say, hey, we're on your side. That's the first part. This is going to be a national program. It's starting in Alabama, and we're going to do some public service announcements that let people know the things that we do on a day-to-day basis, how it takes law enforcement to make them happen. So you're going to see two public service announcements right now.
While 3 million persons celebrated New Year's in New York with family and friends, 7,000 New York law enforcement officers spent this time away from their family and friends to protect those lives. Let's be thankful for the sacrifices law enforcement officers make when they put on their uniforms to serve. And yes, some of them have made the ultimate sacrifice, their lives. We're Concerned Citizens Organized for Police Support, urging you to acknowledge these sacrifices and to thank them for it. While 3 million persons celebrated New Year's in New York with...
Number two.
While 88,000 persons enjoyed an Auburn football game in Jordan-Hare Stadium with their family and friends, hundreds of law enforcement officers spent their time away from their family and friends to be sure they... 88,000 persons enjoyed an Auburn football game in Jordan-Hare Stadium with their family and friends. Hundreds of law enforcement officers spent their time away from their family and friends to be sure they were safe. Let's be thankful for the many sacrifices law enforcement make each day they put on their uniforms to serve. And yes, some of them have made the ultimate sacrifice, their lives in performing their duties. We're Concerned Citizens Organized for Police Support, urging you to acknowledge these sacrifices and to thank them for it.
So those are public service that'll be airing throughout the country and, of course, obviously in the state of Alabama. We're in the process of making one with the University of Alabama on it, okay? They really get mad when I go to Tuscaloosa and show them this spot. We're very happy to have Kiwanis doing the third facet of this program, and that's called Honoring the Best. We're on a quarterly basis. We honor police officers, both at the state level, troopers, along with deputies in the county, sheriff's offices, as well as police officers in the cities. So tonight, Mary Horland, who is Lieutenant Governor for this district for Kiwanis, will make the presentations. Mary?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you to Mayor Anders and to the Auburn City Council for hosting this presentation. We also welcome the members of law enforcement and the families of the honorees. On behalf of the Kiwanis Club of Auburn, Lee County, and Opelika, we are pleased to be here to honor our police officers and deputy sheriff The first recipient is Gregory J. Klepper from the Auburn Police Department, President Walter Northcutt from the Auburn Kiwanis Club will present the plaque, and Lieutenant Danny Humphreys will make the remarks.
Good evening. In 1999, Greg Klepper joined the Auburn Police Department at the age of 15. He was part of the Auburn Explorer program, where teens between the ages of 13 and 18 learn to be what it's like to be a police officer. Greg attended and graduated from the Alabama School of Math and Science in Mobile, and during college he returned to the Auburn Police Department, where he worked as a public safety officer, we commonly call as a PSO. He assisted patrol officers with traffic direction, private property accidents, and reports. And after graduating from Auburn University, he went to work as a police officer. He quickly rose to the rank of corporal, and then in December 2017, he was promoted to detective corporal, where he currently serves today. Greg has been part of, if not the lead detective in many cases while working as a detective corporal. One of cases he recently took over as a lead detective was that of a missing Taiwanese student reported missing shortly after enrolling at Auburn University. When the student didn't show up for class, Corporal Klepper and other detectives began investigating the student's whereabouts. Detective Corporal Klepper spent months following leads, analyzing phone data, reviewing video, talking to witnesses, cross-referencing residential tenants lists, all of which Greg meticulously investigated and produced boxes of evidence, of paper evidence. And he also kept in constant contact with the father, who was in Taiwan, and 14 hours time difference between here and there, who was able to bridge the language barrier by utilizing phone apps and speaking clearly with the father. And due to Corporal Klepper's thorough investigation, he was able to help the father cope with his son's behavior. Greg has quickly become a valued detective, and when it comes to painstakingly analyzing information and evidence of crimes, he's also an incredible interviewer, and is able to talk with anyone and get on and speak at their level. Greg has grown up within the police department and I understand, and we all understand how rare that is, that someone at such an early age knows exactly what he wants to be. I'm excited to see where Detective Klepper will come in the many years to come. All right, go back up. Hey, Greg. Here we go.
Thank you very much.
Yes, congratulations. Our next recipient is Deputy Sheriff Glenn Loveday from the Lee County Sheriff's Department. President Devin Gibson from the Lee County Kiwanis Club will present the plaque, and Captain Chris Wallace will make the remarks.
Good evening. Deputy Glenn Loveday is a Deputy Glenn Loveday is a dedicated deputy sheriff who is fully devoted to carrying out the mission of the Lee County Sheriff's Office. He consistently demonstrates a drive to ferret out crime and to serve the citizens of Lee County, Alabama. He is currently assigned to the Patrol Division as a patrolman. He also serves the Sheriff's Office by acting as a field training officer, as a member of the Lee County SWAT team, as a sniper, and as a member of the Honor Guard detail. Over the last few months, Deputy Loveday saw a need for more active shooter type scenario training to enhance the deputy's response to those type situations. He took the initiative to attend some specialized training, communicated and coordinated the idea with trainers from the Sheriff's Office, from Auburn Police Department and Opelika Police Department, and then took the lead in formalizing this training. Deputy Loveday has instructed at least 3 of these classes to the Lee County Sheriff's Office deputies and other agencies. This training was well put together, was organized, timely, and very practical. Deputy Loveday is a solution finder for the Sheriff's Office and with a professional demeanor who strives for excellence in everything that he does. I am extremely proud of him and count him as an asset to the Lee County Sheriff's Office.
Our last recipient is Officer James Lamar Baker from the Opelika Police Department. President Ricky Elliott, on behalf of the Opelika Kiwanis Club, Jack Galassini, will present this award, and Captain Jonathan Clifton will make the remarks. Thank you. Yeah, there you go.
Thank you. We're so happy to be here from Opelika. Officer Lamar Baker, me and him has been together since 2010 when you started. He's a K-9 officer with us. We actually live in the same neighborhood together in Auburn, Ward 2. So, and we really enjoy working in Opelika and living in Auburn. It's the perfect world, both sides. So he does an outstanding job. But recently, in the last few months, I want to read a couple things that he's done that's been outstanding. One, back in September, while he was off duty, Officer Baker was notified of a missing teenager. He provided several hours of his own time assisting with the investigation, helping the detectives in several Auburn, Opelika, and Lee County units in locating this missing juvenile. We ended up locating her, and she was found safe and unharmed. Back in October, Officer Baker contacted a suspicious subject behind one of the businesses in Opelika. During his encounter with this individual, he got crucial information that ended up leading to several felony theft and burglary cases convictions on that individual. And then last month, while he was on a hunting trip, off duty with some of his friends, he saw a burned side-by-side four-wheeler, like a utility vehicle, and he remembered, I reckon it was a week or so prior, that there was a missing, stolen one of these ATVs. And he said, hey, that might be it. So he ended up calling the jurisdiction, and he ended up calling his chain of command, and lo and behold, it was the one that was stolen out of Opelika. So even when he's off duty, he is still technically on duty. And that is, I can't say enough. Me and him became personal friends. He's an outstanding individual, and we're lucky at Opelika to have him and also living here in Auburn. So thank you. Good.
Just thank you. That concludes our presentation. Just congratulations to all our honorees. And Merry Christmas, everyone.
Christmas.
Mayor, one thing I'd like to add about Greg Klepper, Corporal Klepper, is an accomplished triathlete. Is he gone already? Beats in a lot of triathlons, something you may not know about him, very good shape. So don't try to run from him if he tries to stop you.
May I just say, too, Greg's my neighbor. Yes.
I kind of like the plug for Ward 2 myself.
we're very grateful for CCOPS and their passion for these people who protect us, thankful for the Kiwanis clubs here locally who act as the conduit to bring these recognitions to our area. And it's certainly a great way for us to start our meeting tonight, and we thank all the men and women who get up every day and go about trying to keep us in a well-protected manner, and I'm just thankful for that. Okay, the Committee of the Whole tonight, we appointed Mr. Art Chapelka to the Green Space Advisory Board. We had a brief discussion about the student housing moratorium timeline, which is probably a little different than when we left here 2 weeks ago moving forward, and I would encourage you to get all those details from the city online here pretty soon, but basically we've got some legal requirements we've got to go through to send this through the Planning Commission, which we've been advised by our legal counsel that this is a planning decision to begin with, and so we'll start that process of sending this ordinance that has been drafted and send that to the Planning Commission, and they'll hopefully will consider this in their January meeting. Okay, so that will take us to the Committee of the Whole. As far as under some mayor's announcements tonight, I just want to say thank you to all the downtown merchants and everybody that participated in the Christmas parade recently. It was held on a Sunday afternoon, and I thought it was a wonderfully attended parade. It was very well organized and seemed to there was a lot of people having fun and a good time by all. I was very fortunate last week. I went to a lot of Christmas parties, but 3 of those Christmas parties involved, 2 of them involved public safety here in the city of Auburn with the fire department and the police department, and one involved some of our staff here. I continue to be thankful for the people that serve us and work for the city. Those are some great folks to share the Christmas spirit with and to share some time of fellowship with and get to see them kind of off duty as people. Particularly, there was a night that I was with the fire department. They had their families there. The police department was having a great time with the DJ. And we've just got some good folks that work every day on your behalf in the city. And I appreciate them inviting me to those parties, but I just appreciate everything they do. The Super 7 was last week, and this was certainly not the year we thought we would be hosting, but we did. And a lot of people came together, including our public safety and hundreds of volunteers and our friends at the athletic department and the patients of the university and the student body. And we had a great 2.5 days of 5 really classic ball games and some pretty good weather. And I'm just thankful for everybody that made that happen. It was a great event again, and I believe that we have an opportunity to be a part of something that's really a big memory in the life of a young football player, a young cheerleader, a young member of the band, and just some of these smaller communities. Just to step foot into our stadium is a really big deal. And I'm just thankful for everybody that comes together, including our friends from Opelika who certainly help support the event as well. All the folks at Tourism who do a fantastic job keeping this thing moving each and every day. I presented the check from Mayor Walt Maddox to the Exceptional Foundation of East Alabama the other day, and that is the friendly wager between the 2 mayors for the Iron Bowl, and him being the good sport and the good man that he is, he sent his check on directly, and I took it over to the Exceptional Foundation. And I would just encourage any of you who have not spent time over there, if you're looking for somewhere to hang your hat and do some volunteering, to go see those good folks. They're in the basement of Health Plus, but there's some sweet people over there that are working really hard. There's a lot of joy in that building, and I'm just really proud of the effort that's going on to serve our citizens and our adults with special needs in our community. And then yesterday we had the library dedication, the outdoor area at the library, and that was a great effort of many city departments. But what a beautiful picture of school children and private sector folks and city officials and elected officials and teachers. It was just a great picture of what can happen when a lot of people in Auburn come together and put their heads and their minds to it, and that's going to be such a great asset for our community, and I look forward to the stories and activities that happen at the library outdoors in the future. So those are some announcements for me. I don't know if anybody else on the council has anything they'd like to say before we get into the consent agenda. Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, I've had a lot of interest from folks in Ward 2 about the intersection at Farmville and Donahue. There have been a lot of recent, traffic incidents there, and I just want to express my thanks to Mr. Buston and his staff. They're looking at some options to accelerate the improvements that we had planned and to perhaps include some temporary measures, and I appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Jim.
I just say one announcement. I just want to say that I wish everyone a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and I would like for everybody to be safe and watch your surroundings. So Merry Christmas.
Okay.
Mayor, I'd also like to add, this time of the year, I do a lot of reflecting, and I'm very thankful first and foremost this time of the year when we celebrate the birth of my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And I'm also thankful for the staff of the city of Auburn, the dedication you put in for this city. This city is very successful, and we owe it all to our staff and our city manager, and I appreciate the job you do, and you make our job easy by the way you do your job day in and day out. And I'd also like to say I'm thankful for living here in the city of Auburn. We don't always agree on everything in this council, but we got some good people serving, and we got a good place to live, and I'm very thankful. I was born and raised here in Auburn, raised my child here in Auburn, and I'm very proud to be from Auburn, and Merry Christmas and War Eagle.
All right. Anyone else? Okay. At this point in time, we'll have citizens' communications on the agenda items. If you'd like to address the council about anything on tonight's agenda, specifically on tonight's agenda, please come forward, give your name and address for the record, and you will have 5 minutes. Okay. Seeing no one, we'll move on to city manager's communications.
Mayor, I'm assuming we missed Auburn University Communications just because.
I apologize. Yes, thank you. The Auburn University does not have a representative here tonight, and Caitlin told me that before the meeting, and I wrote something down and still didn't get to it, so I apologize for that. But yes, there would be no Auburn University Communications. Obviously, they're all home for the break. Thank you, Jim.
Under City Manager's communication this evening, we start out with an announcement of 2 vacancies on the Cemeteries Advisory Board. These terms will begin February 5th, 2020 and end February 4th, 2024. This appointment will be made at the January 21st, 2020 City Council meeting. Our next order of business this evening is the consent agenda. Does any council member wish to remove an item from the consent agenda and deal with that item separately?
Yes, item, let's see, where is it? 8. 8. Yes.
8C8? Okay.
Anyone else? Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to remove 8C6. 8C6.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to remove 8F Foxtrot.
8F. Okay. All right, anyone else? Okay. Jim, take these in order.
So we'll take the consent agenda items first. 8C6 is the contract with ETC Institute for the city's biennial citizen survey at a cost of $15,250.
Move for approval.
Second. All right. I have a motion and a second. Any questions?
Yes, I'd like to just pass this down to the other council members. And what it is, it's a graphic depiction of the citizen survey from last time around. And it shows that the respondents are basically clustered toward the city center. And I'd like some assurance from the staff that this contract has some provisions that would allow us to expand our population. Because I'm concerned that there are large portions of Ward 2 and also large portions of other sections of the city that have little or no representation in terms of the outcome of the survey. So again, I would like some assurances from the staff that the contract is worded in such a way that we prevent this huge clustering and expand our population.
Mr. Buster?
So we can deal or address that issue with ETC. What ETC does is deals with the population based on the census figures and deals with census blocks based on the census, what the census figures say are in those different areas. Now, North Auburn in the 2010 census was very sparsely populated. We know that North Auburn has grown considerably since 2010. I'm not sure when the last census estimate came out for us? Do you know? On that one?
Census estimate came out in May, and that was for the population as of July.
So we would hope, and we can deal with them, that they need to use those estimates and those census blocks to get the appropriate sample size. Again, I'm not an expert in modeling and sampling like that, but I know that from what they tell us, that they do a representative sample based on the census. And I do know that North Auburn has grown considerably since the original census figures were.
Is this company in the acceptable norms with statistic and number? I mean, is there any reason to doubt that they're not doing the work correctly with acceptable means?
Again, they are the experts in statistical analysis and randomized sampling, so I have nothing to tell me that they aren't doing it correctly. Now, we need to make sure they understand the dynamics of the community as well, so that they can take that into consideration.
There is an opportunity to influence the contract in such a way that they can understand our desires to
Yes.
have a better representation.
Again, yes, we will make it clear to them what we believe and what the census figures show are different than the 2010 census.
Yeah, I'd just like to point out, this is not just a Ward 2 issue, by the way, if y'all can, that's why I passed this out. You've got large swaths of the city who had virtually no respondents, and partially that's due to people not responding, and so it's not just the surveying technique, it's the interest of our citizens, which we need to encourage as well.
Mm-hmm.
Jim, do we have a process where we try to publicize to our community that, hey, you could be contacted, you might be sent an email, or you might receive this in the mail, we really need you to respond? I mean, is there?
We would start that, assuming this passes tonight, we will start that immediately.
Good.
Letting them know what the dates are, work with ETC. They also do a little bit of pre-work before they send out the survey. They will gather a group of citizens that they will test the survey on, see if it makes sense to them. This is before they even send it out.
And as we discussed in our packet meeting, the council will have an opportunity to review the survey and make some suggestions of possibility of questions that may impact their wishes and wants for the city.
Yes. Well, our only limitation on any of that, so if we are limited to 6 pages of survey. So if we add some questions that would put us over that, we'd need to subtract some other ones, but as long as we stay within those 6 pages, we're fine.
I think it's very important we get out front of this to let people know how important it is to respond to this survey, because a lot of our planning works around this survey. I know back when I was working with the city, in my capacity, I used it to plan patrols and things like that for the police officers. And a lot of our responses was dedicated on where we have officers stationed at and things like that. So it's very important we do it through the meeting, let them know how important this is as a tool for the city of Auburn.
Certainly agree with you, Tommy. Thank you for saying that. Okay, any other comments or questions on this item? If not, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
Item 8C8 is a contract for cost, labor, equipment, and material for the construction of the Boykin renovations Phase 2.
Okay, I had, I was.
Just one second, Ms. Taylor. Get a motion in a second
okay,
first.
sorry.
Yep, we'll come right back to you. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
All right, do you have a motion in a second? Ms. Taylor?
I wasn't at the packet meeting on Friday, so I guess I got a couple of questions I just needed to ask about this. Especially with the parking spaces, it's gonna move from 41 spaces to 70 spaces, and I was just trying to figure out, because I'm in that area all the time, it's already congested. So I would just especially with the daycare being there and the traffic that's in and out for the daycare and everything. So I was just trying to figure out how did y'all, Can you just, just enlighten me a little bit on the parking?
So parking is an issue there. As you know, there are times when all of the groups that are using that facility, there is just not enough parking. So we've decided to do the entire parking lot instead of just the partial parking lot, but I'm going to let our city engineer address that.
Yes, the access on Boykin Street, we're actually going to reverse. Currently, there's a loop driveway on Boykin, and there's a loop, if you will, on Mary Brooks. We're going to have one access on Boykin, so if you come into the building, if you're facing the building, you can turn left to go to parking, or you'll be able to turn right. So we're going to reverse the circulation headed towards where the senior area is. That makes sense if you're facing the building. So you'll come in and be able to turn right or left to go to parking.
Okay, so you're increasing the parking on the side with the
Yes.
front of the building?
Yes.
Okay, so in the loop, that's going to be parking there. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, ma'am. Where the loop is now, that will become parking as well.
Oh, okay.
And then
So-
increasing the parking on the end where the daycare centers are.
Oh, okay. Where? I'm trying to.
On the end where the clinic is, on the north end of the building where the clinic is going and the entrance to, I think it's Joyland, that's where additional parking will be on that end. There's parking there now, but we'll redo that and add some spaces.
Okay, so your space is going further down, like if you're going.
Towards where the dumpster is, yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right. And the other
We have an updated site plan for the Boykin Center. Allison, do we have an updated site that shows where the parking's going to be?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And the other question, I was just looking at the bid, and I wanted to sort of understand, okay, it says in here that the Compton contractors, they were the lowest bidder, of course, but they deducted $40,000 at the bid opening, decreasing their bid amount to $931,000, but we bidded it at 1.3. So I was trying to understand the 40,000.
When we do public bids mean that we get sealed bids, and they are advertised that they will be opened at a certain date and time. But all those bids come to us sealed. All of the people who submit a bid, actually the public could come as well, but this is open to the public. Everybody who submitted a bid can be there at the time of the bid opening. So it is not uncommon for someone to submit a sealed bid, but either add or subtract on their envelope before that bid is open. They can say, I want to add $40,000 to my bid, or I want to subtract $40,000 from my bid. And they do that based on who's there in the room, based on who they know their competition, and all that is legal. So what that is explaining to you is that that particular bidder added $40,000 to his envelope before the envelope was opened. So when the envelope is opened and whatever he bid, then that is added to it or subtracted from it, depending on what it is.
Okay, is it added to it, just in case something come up, or is it?
No, it's part of the bid. It's
part of the bid. So
it's just as if
he's going to use that 1.3.
The 1.3 is the addition of the building bid, which was $971, then he deducted $40,000 from, and then the site work portion, which tracks through $423,029.50. That's what the almost $1.4 million is the addition of those two. Add them all together, the numbers on the bid sheet, subtract $40,000 off the envelope. That's how we got to the ultimate number of 1,354,675.11.
But it is a very common practice for bidders to do that.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions for the city manager regarding this topic? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And that motion carries.
Item 8F is the establishment of traffic calming devices, 3 speed humps, 4 traffic calming and 1 traffic circle on Belmont Drive.
Move for approval.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any questions?
Jim, the reason that I pulled it is I'm having a similar issue in Ward 6 of petition. I've got a couple of questions. The first one, when I was familiarizing myself with this issue, I went to I clicked the link for the city's traffic calming policy, and it's dead at the moment. It doesn't take you to any actual PDF or written material. And I was wondering, is that because it's under review, or is it?
Pardon me?
The reason that it's not available, is there a particular reason? Or
It should be available. If it's not, it's an error, and we'll have to get that fixed, but it should be available.
The second question that I had was, was there a traffic study on Belmont Drive conducted, or was this just a petition generated by the residents?
So I'm going to let this, there was a study done, but also there was a petition done, I believe, by the residents in the area, but I'll let the traffic engineer, or the city engineer.
Yes, there was a traffic study done, there was a petition, and there was also 3 separate meetings with the homeowners association for this particular subdivision.
With regards to the traffic study, with the results showing that there was excessive speeding?
It would have if it warranted the traffic calming measures that we recommended.
So the process happened, the request for a traffic study happened, you got the results of that, and then they petitioned based on the results?
So the process is, if someone requests traffic calming, we then do the study to see if it's warranted. If it is warranted, then the neighborhood circulates the petition to essentially approve the measures that we're recommending to them based on the volumes and the speeds.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
I might add, they do a very good job with these traffic studies. I appreciate the work you put into it. Get a lot of compliments out of it. Different Ward 8.
Thank you, Tommy. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that motion carries.
Mayor, I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second. Motion and second to approve the consent agenda. Any other questions on that? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent agenda carries.
Hey, our next item are ordinances.
Before we go into ordinances, we made some comments about a month ago. Beth and I had some training on Robert's rules with some of the city staff. And before we were to, and really impacts the way we go about and approve ordinances. So before we take these 2 ordinances tonight, I've asked the pro tem to kind of go over the new rules that we'll be following.
So in the state of Alabama, it's required to have 2 readings for an ordinance, and Jim, if I misstep in my explanation, please correct me. And there's a caveat to that, which allows this body to, in essence, waive that first reading by agreeing unanimous consent to waive that first reading and move to vote on that ordinance as if it were the second reading. So we actually have 2 steps in the process. One is to agree to unanimous consent, or someone may deny unanimous consent, which would then automatically move it to its second reading and no vote is required. However, unanimous consent, and if I'll agree, we do need to vote on that action itself, independent of voting on the actual ordinance. So that is why we need to execute 2 steps. One, to vote on unanimous consent so that we have a roll call vote on that, and it's on the record, as well as someone needs to make a motion to approve the ordinance itself, the item that is on the agenda.
And we've essentially been doing that all these years traditionally, but it's not been very formal.
Correct. And in our training, we learned that there are various ordinances that really require us to have that definitive 2-step process. So it was just, it made more sense to be consistent with that and do it continually, a 2-step process, so that it's clear and so that we wouldn't have to worry about which ordinance required that requirement versus other ordinances that may not be as critical in the process.
Right, and Mayor, some people may look at the state legislature. The state legislature does it the way we used to do it, when they are asking for unanimous consent, and then just assuming that whoever asked for unanimous consent is the person who is moving to adopt. However, as Mayor Pro Tem Witten said, there are certain ordinances, especially bond ordinances, that require this double step. And it's set out in code that it has to be done this way. So we're just going to do all of our ordinances that way.
I would like to add, just as a citizen, it's very confusing, and we often get the most questions from our constituents, because when someone hears unanimous consent, they make the assumption that it requires the entire body to vote in favor or deny for an item to pass. And so that is one of the most miscommunicated items, I think, on our process, and that's one of the things I often have to explain to people. And a lot of times people leave here confused. Did it pass? Did it not pass? So I think by us practicing it this way with a two-step process, it really clears up that for our constituents.
Well, I'm a little confused now, so.
Okay, good.
That's all right.
You gotta ask, the first time you introduce and ask for unanimous consent, then you do it again at some point.
Well, the second vote, Tommy, would just be a simple motion. Okay? If you'll hang in there with us and just follow on this first time.
Best you can.
That's fine. We got you, man.
Slow tonight.
We got you. It's all right. We're good. We're good. Appreciate everybody's patience. All right, so let's start here.
So under ordinances this evening, we have item 9A as an ordinance establishing a no parking zone along the south side of North Avenue.
I will introduce the ordinance and ask for unanimous consent.
What do we do now?
Thank you. Just kidding. Second. Just kidding.
Leave it to the lawyer.
We have a motion and a second. Is there anyone on the council who has a problem moving forward with a vote on this evening? Seeing none, we'll vote on this.
Dawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Dixon,
Yes.
Griswold,
Yes, ma'am.
Hovey,
Yes, ma'am.
Parsons,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes, ma'am.
Taylor,
Yes.
Witten,
Yes.
Anders.
Yes. Now, the second part of this is,
I move to approve the ordinance 9A, establishing a no parking zone along the south side of North Avenue.
Second.
right, we have a motion and a second, so we just do this like a
And just
resolution?
no, then you would just
Okay.
go ahead and
All right. So we have a motion and a second. So Caitlin?
Discussion.
Oh, is there any discussion? Thank you. Ms. Whitten? Any discussion on this? Any questions on this particular ordinance?
We talking about the same ordinance?
Yes.
Okay.
9A. You got it, Connie? I think I do, if you do.
I get it. I
All
think
right.
I do.
Any questions? Okay. Caitlin?
Dawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Dixon,
Yes.
Griswold,
Yes, ma'am.
Hovey, Parsons,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Witten,
Yes.
Anders.
Yes.
Item 9B is Robert and Tara Cowles requesting the annexation of .96 acres located at 2012 Lee Road 672, which is Thistle Lane in the city limits of Auburn.
I'll introduce the ordinance and ask for unanimous consent. Second.
Quick study there. Let's go.
I learned pretty quick.
Yeah, good.
We have a motion and a second. Does anyone on the council have a problem moving forward with a vote on this evening? Seeing none. Caitlin?
Dixon,
Yes.
Griswold,
Yes, ma'am.
Hovey,
Yes, ma'am.
Parsons,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes, ma'am.
Taylor,
Yes.
Witten,
Yes.
Dawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Anders.
Yes. All right. Do we have a motion on the ordinance itself?
I'll move for approval on ordinance 9B.
Tommy, do I have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Questions? All right, seeing none. Caitlin?
Dixon,
Yes.
Griswold,
Yes, ma'am.
Hovey,
Yes, ma'am.
Parsons,
Yes.
Smith, Taylor,
Yes.
Witten,
Yes.
Dawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Anders.
Yes, ma'am.
Under resolutions this evening, I have item 10A1 is Brett Basquin requesting conditional use approval for an auto repair shop on property located at 124 East Veterans Boulevard. A public hearing is required.
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, do we have a motion and a second? At this point in time, I'll open the public hearing.
I'm getting looks over here from people. Sorry, Mayor.
At this point in time, we'll open the public hearing. If you'd like to address the council, please come forward and give your name and address for the record. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Are there any questions or comments from the council?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I have some questions.
Yes, sir.
Will veterans eventually connect to the north somewhere? I mean, is that in the plan? Right now, it just goes up there and dead ends, it looks like.
Not sure.
Anywhere. It parallels the interstate and then it just dies. I just didn't know if there's any plan.
Yes, on our major street plan, one of the long-term projects we've had is to connect East Veterans to Southview Drive. We've had pretty significant opposition to that over the years, but perhaps one day it will connect.
Okay. All right, thank you. And the other question is, this thing is 24 service bays. That's huge. Is this supporting a fleet of vehicles, or is this, do you have any idea what?
It's the Ford dealer. I believe there's going to be a relationship there between the new Ford dealer and this auto service center use.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, we've got a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item 10A2 is Blake Rice requesting conditional use approval for a subdivision amenity with pool house, and a parking lot on property located at 1875 Keystone Drive in the Camden West subdivision. A public hearing is required.
This time we'll open the public hearing. If you'd like to address the council on this, please come forward and give your name and address for the record. Okay, seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments from the council? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item 10A3 is the City of Auburn requesting conditional use approval for a parking deck located at 140 Wright Street. A public hearing is required.
This time we'll open the public hearing. If you'd like to address the council, please come forward and give your name and address for the record. Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing.
Move for approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions?
I have a question, Mr. Mayor. Will this building be subject to the downtown design review process?
Yes, sir. It's actually already been before that body.
This sure is ugly. Just a big box. Is there anything can be done about that?
What were the comments from the review team? Do we have a report from them or comments from them?
They were generally favorable. We have minutes that we can certainly provide.
It looks so much just like these other big boxes that we've built lately, so I was curious if there was some way to enhance its appearance.
Parking deck.
Yeah, I know. Well, and those apartments all look like big parking decks too, so.
I do think that one of the issues we are constrained by and the developers are constrained by, and I think that planning is looking at, is that the plans that were put in place during one of the, and I don't know which one of these sessions where we had a lot of public input, was the amount of brick that we have to use on these buildings. And that is right by code that we have right now. And I think planning is looking at that to see if we can come up with some other type of facade type treatments that would allow us to have some better architectural design rather than these heavy brick facades, which were there because the public said that that's what they wanted. So, and you can probably elaborate on that.
Yeah, The current requirements actually go all the way back to the spring of '07. Former Mayor Jan Dempsey led that review process, and I was the primary staff liaison. But you have to keep in mind that a lot of the modeling that was done was before we really saw any significant development, and a lot of what we were contemplating was the type of development that you see up and down College and Magnolia currently, where you have fairly narrow widths. I don't know that anyone ever thought that someone would come in and take down an entire city block for student housing development. And clearly, these regulations didn't contemplate that either. And that's the very reason why we're currently working with the DDRC to come up with standards to help break up some of that massing, allow for more creative design and more pleasing outcomes.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries.
Item 10A4 is the City of Auburn requesting conditional use approval for an interim public park on property located at 135 North College Street. A public hearing is required.
We'll open the public hearing. If you'd like to address the council regarding this, please come forward and give your name and address for the record. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing.
Move for approval.
Second.
Having a motion and a second, are there any comments or questions from the council?
I sure would like for us to consider, I know this is a holding area, and I know it's a very valuable piece of property in the downtown core, but to Councilperson Griswold's comments, this green space could help soften a little bit of the hardscape that is surrounded by it. So it sure would be nice if we could maybe maintain this space. And I know it can be a holding space for up to however many years, so it may be lasting, but it sure would be nice to cement its space in downtown and maybe even make it a park that is representative of the community as a whole for the downtown area.
Anything else? Any other comments or questions from the council? Okay, seeing none, we've got a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item 10A5 is Brett Basquin requesting conditional use approval for a warehouse distribution facility on property located at 2230 Pumphrey Avenue. A public hearing is required.
This time we'll open the public hearing. If you'd like to address the council, please come forward and give your name and address for the record. Okay, seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing. So I have a motion from the council.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any comments or questions from the council? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Mayor, those are all the items we have on the agenda this evening.
Okay. This time, the citizens can come forward during Citizens Open Forum and address the council about anything that is on your mind. Please give your name and address for the record, and remember that you have 3 minutes. Seeing no one, I'd like to say at this point in time before we adjourn, I hope everybody has a great holiday, a Merry Christmas, and a Happy New Year. I want to echo what Tommy said and say thank you to our staff for everything they've done on behalf of us and the way they run this city. I want to thank the council for your hard work and dedication. Caitlin, thank you for filling in for Lindsay. You've done a great job. I hope everybody has a happy holiday and a Happy New Year, and we'll see you in January. Any other comments or thoughts from the council? If not, do I have a move to adjourn?
Mayor, I'd like to move to adjourn to the next decade, please.
To date, sir.
All right, we are adjourned.